Have you ever noticed how asking the right question at just the right moment can shift your entire life's direction? We often chase answers, hoping they'll unlock some hidden secret to happiness or success. But the truth is, it's the questions that do the heavy lifting. A good question doesn't just give you clarity. It cuts through the noise, challenges your beliefs, and reveals what truly matters. Today, I want to invite you into that kind of clarity. In a world overflowing with distractions, pressure, and noise, how do we stay centered? How do we make decisions that align with who we want to be, not just what the world expects from us? That's where Stoicism comes in. Not as a dusty old philosophy, but as a practical tool for everyday living. For years, I've turned to these ancient ideas, not to escape modern life, but to thrive within it. And through that journey, I've collected 12 powerful questions. Questions rooted in timeless Stoic wisdom. Questions I ask myself constantly. Questions that have helped me filter out what doesn't matter and double down on what does. These questions aren't abstract. They're meant to be used, right now, in the middle of your workday, in moments of doubt, frustration, ambition, or fear. So if you've ever felt pulled in too many directions, unsure of your priorities, or just stuck in a life that doesn't feel fully yours, these questions may change everything. Let's begin, together, with the first one. Question: who are you spending time with? Take a moment and really think about this. Who are the people you surround yourself with day after day? Because whether we realize it or not, we become like the people we spend time with. Their energy, their habits, their mindset, it all rubs off on us. It's subtle at first, but over time, it shapes who we are, who we become, and even where we're heading. I've seen this play out countless times. Some people lift you up, they challenge you, support your growth, push you toward your better self. Others, without even meaning to, pull you down, or worse, keep you stuck exactly where you are. There's a line I always come back to. Show me who you spend time with and I'll show you your future. So I ask myself this regularly, and I invite you to do the same. Are the people in your life helping you move toward who you want to be or away from it? Are they adding energy or draining it? Are they pushing you to expand or making it easy to shrink? It's not always an easy question. Sometimes it means making difficult choices. But this reflection is a turning point, because once you become aware of the influence others have on you, you can start choosing who gets access to your time, your attention, and your energy. And when you choose wisely, everything starts to change. Question 2. Is this within my control? This one has been life-changing for me. Every single day I come back to a core Stoic principle. Learn to separate what's within your control from what isn't. It sounds simple, but practicing it, that's where the real strength comes in. Think about it. How much of your stress, your frustration, even your anger, comes from trying to control things that are completely outside your hands? The weather changes. People disappoint you. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The market crashes. A storm ruins your plans. You didn't choose any of it, and you can't stop it. But what you can control is what happens next. Your response, your mindset, your choices. That's where your power lies. When I find myself feeling overwhelmed or emotionally charged, I pause and ask, is this up to me? If it is, I act. If it's not, I let it go, or at least try my best to. Because throwing good energy after bad doesn't serve anyone, especially not me. Letting go of what you can't control isn't giving up. It's freeing yourself. It's choosing not to waste time, wrestling with the wind, and instead using your strength to steer your own ship. Question 3. What does your ideal day look like? Let me ask you something that seems simple, but most people never take the time to answer. What does a truly good day look like to you? Not just a productive day, not a day where you checked off a to-do list or impressed someone at work. I mean a day where you felt aligned, present, fulfilled, a day that reflects the kind of life you actually want to live. Because here's the truth. Your life isn't made up of years or even months. It's made up of days. How you spend your day is how you spend your life. The Stoic Seneca reminds us of this over and over. So does writer Annie Dillard. How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. For me, my ideal day is quiet, focused, and full of presence. I wake up early, move my body, write a little, spend real time with my family, think deeply, and avoid distractions. I'm not rushing through calls or cramming in meaningless tasks. I'm doing fewer things, better, and I'm grounded in what matters most. That's the standard I hold myself to, so when an opportunity comes my way, a meeting, an invitation, a commitment, I ask myself, is this moving me closer to that ideal day, or pulling me further away? If you don't know what your version of a great day looks like, you'll end up chasing things that don't matter. Money, attention, status, thinking that's the goal. But it never satisfies. Why? Because it's not your definition of success. So take the time, picture it, write it down if you have to, then use that vision to guide the choices you make, today and every day forward. Question 4. To be or to do? Here's a question that hits deeper the more you think about it. Do you want to be someone, or do you want to do something? At first glance, they sound similar, but they're not. There are two paths we often find ourselves choosing between, sometimes without even realizing it. One path is all about appearances. It's about chasing status, climbing ladders, collecting titles, and being seen. It's about being important. The other path? It's about getting things done, quietly, purposefully, without needing applause or recognition. This idea comes from the strategist John Boyd, and it changed the way I think about achievement. He used to challenge people in positions of influence to choose, do you want to be someone, or do you want to do something meaningful? I come back to this constantly, because the truth is, our culture rewards visibility more than impact. You get likes for looking busy, not for doing deep, difficult, unseen work. But Stoicism reminds us to measure ourselves by character, not attention, by action, not image. So I ask myself, especially when I'm tempted by ego, am I doing this because it looks good or because it is good? Am I chasing credit or chasing contribution? There's a quote often attributed to Truman. It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. That's the spirit behind this question. Choosing to do rather than to be won't always get you headlines, but it will get you fulfillment. It will help you build things that matter even if no one's watching. So the next time you feel that pull, to prove yourself, to be noticed, to impress, pause and ask, is this about legacy or just vanity? With that in mind, let's go even deeper. Let's talk about how we measure success, not through the eyes of others, but through a lens that actually reflects who we are. Question 5. How are you measuring your life? Pause for a moment and ask yourself, how are you actually measuring your life? Not in theory, not what you say matters, but in reality. What are you using to keep score? Is it money, likes, status, accomplishments? Or is it something deeper, like growth, purpose, integrity, or impact? The ancient philosopher Hillel once posed two questions that have stayed with me for years. If I am not for myself, who will be? But then, if I am only for myself, what am I? That tension between striving and serving, between ambition and humility, that's the heart of this question. It's easy to get caught in chasing external success. It looks impressive, it feels productive, and sometimes it even gets rewarded. But here's the catch. Those things don't last, and they rarely satisfy. So I've learned to ask myself, am I measuring my life by things I control, or by things others can take away? Am I living for headlines, or am I building something that will matter even when no one's watching? One story that always grounds me is about George C. Marshall, one of the most accomplished leaders in modern history. At the height of his career, he turned down the chance to lead the D-Day invasion. Why? because he didn't want personal ambition to interfere with the team's success. He knew the mission was bigger than his ego. That's what it means to measure your life by impact, not by credit. When I reflect on this, I think about the balance I try to keep between my work and my family, my ambition and my integrity. Because I know what truly matters to me, not just doing great things, but doing them in the right way. So how are you measuring your life? And if it feels off, are you willing to change the scorecard? Let's carry that thought into the next question, because often the very things we measure our lives by are the same things that keep us trapped in fear, stress, and distraction. Question 6. What am I missing by choosing to worry or be afraid? Worry feels like action. Fear feels like caution. But most of the time, they're just distractions dressed up as responsibility. So here's a question I return to whenever my thoughts spiral, whenever anxiety creeps in and starts to hijack my focus. What am I missing by choosing to worry or be afraid right now? That's right, choosing. Because as uncomfortable as it is to admit, worry and fear are often choices. We don't choose the situation, but we do choose how long we stay stuck in it emotionally. Author Gavin de Becker said something powerful in his book, The Gift of Fear. When you worry, ask yourself, what am I choosing not to see? And that hits me every time. Because worry takes up space. It steals energy. It fills the mental room where clarity, courage, and creativity are supposed to live. I've learned that when I'm anxious, I'm usually not present. I'm living in a future that hasn't happened, or in a past I can't change. And in doing so, I'm missing the one thing I actually can influence, this moment. So I ask myself, what opportunities am I blind to because I'm busy replaying fears? What growth am I avoiding because I'd rather sit in familiar anxiety than face uncertain progress? Stoicism doesn't say don't feel. It says don't be ruled. Emotions will come. But the question is, will you build your life around them? Or will you act anyway? Look, we all get scared. We all worry. But the key is to notice when it's happening and gently bring yourself back with this question. Because while you're consumed with what might go wrong, you could be missing everything that's going right. Question 7. Are you doing your job? Sometimes life gets messy. There's chaos, confusion, opinions flying in from all directions. In moments like that, I come back to one simple but powerful question. Are you doing your job? It's deceptively basic, but it cuts deep. Because in every situation, every challenge, every role you hold, there's something that's expected of you. Something only you can control, and that's your job. I don't mean your title or your LinkedIn bio. I mean the real work, being present, showing up, following through, leading with integrity. Sometimes your job is to be a leader. Sometimes it's just to listen. Sometimes it's to speak up. Other times, it's to step back. I remember a story from the NFL when Coach Sean Payton was suspended. He left behind a giant picture of himself with 3 words: do your job. It wasn't just a slogan. It was a reminder of responsibility. No matter what's happening around you, noise, drama, setbacks, you always have one job: to do the thing in front of you with excellence. But here's the catch. It's so much easier to point fingers, to focus on what others aren't doing, to obsess over how the system is flawed or how unfair things feel. That's why I love this question, because it brings the focus back to you. Are you doing your job? Not their job. Not the boss's job. Not the world's job. If the answer is no, be honest. Then get back on track. If the answer is yes, great. Keep going. Stay the course, because fulfillment doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right thing, at the right moment, as fully as you can. Question 8. What is the most important thing to you? Let's not overcomplicate it. Let's get straight to the heart of everything. What is the most important thing to you? Not what sounds good. Not what you think you should say, but when you strip away the noise, the expectations, the pressure, What actually matters most? Because here's the truth. If you don't know what's most important, how can you possibly make good decisions? How can you prioritize your time, your energy, your life? I've learned that once you identify your deepest value, everything else starts falling into place. And more importantly, you stop chasing things that never mattered in the first place. For me, I've thought about this a lot. If someone offered me 10 times more success, more visibility, more money, but it would cost me my relationship with my family, I wouldn't even hesitate. I'd say no, because I already know my family, my integrity, my peace of mind, those are non-negotiable. That doesn't mean I don't care about my work. I care deeply, but not more than what truly matters. Seneca called this euthymia, the calm confidence that comes from knowing your path and not getting distracted by all the other paths that cross it. And once you know your path, once you've named the thing that matters most, you can let go of so much noise, the comparisons, the envy, the guilt, the FOMO, because you're not living someone else's life anymore. You're living yours. So take a breath and ask yourself honestly, what is the most important thing to me? And then, am I living like it is? That brings us to the next question, one that shifts the focus outward and forces us to confront something crucial. Who are you doing all of this for? Question 9. Who is this for? Every time you create something, every time you speak, share, post, write, perform, do you know who it's for? Because here's a mistake I see far too often. People pour time and energy into their work without ever asking this one question. They chase vague ideas like success or impact, hoping that someone out there will get it. But they don't know who they're really trying to reach. So I ask myself constantly, who is this for? Who am I really speaking to? If the answer is everyone, that usually means no one. Whether I'm making a video, writing a book, or sharing a message, I've learned that clarity matters more than cleverness. You can't hit a target you haven't identified. Is it for people who feel stuck? Is it for someone starting over? Is it for the person who needs just one honest voice to remind them they're not alone? When you know who it's for, your message becomes sharp, powerful, and personal. When you don't, it becomes noise. And this goes beyond creative work. It applies to how we speak to loved ones, how we show up in meetings, how we carry ourselves in life. Are you living for your audience or your ego? Are you trying to serve free or to be seen? Stoicism teaches empathy, not just as a feeling but as a skill. When you step outside your own head and into someone else's world, you start connecting for real. That's when the work becomes meaningful. So before you put anything out into the world, an idea, a post, a conversation, pause and ask, who is this for? And how can I serve them better? Question 10. Does this actually matter? Stop for a second and take a breath. Now ask yourself honestly, does this actually matter? Not does it feel urgent, or am I emotionally invested in it? Right now, but in the big picture, in the light of everything you care about, everything you value, is this truly important? It's a question that cuts through the noise like a blade. We spend so much time stressed, offended, upset, spinning in circles over tiny details, minor inconveniences, fleeting slights. But how often do we step back and ask, is this essential? Or am I clinging to something I should have let go of hours ago? Marcus Aurelius wrote, ask yourself in every moment, is this essential? Because most of what we think, say, or do isn't. And when you eliminate the inessential, two beautiful things happen. You get your time and energy back. You do the essential things better, with more clarity, more focus, and more heart. I think of Stephen Colbert's story. He lost his father and two brothers in a plane crash when he was just 10. Later, his mother, grieving and strong, taught him something profound. She asked him, can you look at this in the light of eternity? That line has stuck with me, because When tragedy hits or life shakes you awake, you suddenly see what matters and what doesn't. You realize that the traffic jam doesn't matter. The missed email doesn't matter. The rude comment on social media doesn't matter. What does matter? People, your values, doing your best, being present. And the beautiful part is, you don't have to wait for a crisis to gain that clarity. You can choose it right now with one powerful question. Does this actually matter? From that clarity, we move into a new kind of urgency, not about stress, but about purpose. The next question invites us to rethink how we're spending the moments of our lives, especially the in-between ones. Question 11. Will this be a live time or a dead time? We all go through seasons of waiting for the right job, waiting for the next opportunity, waiting for life to go back to normal. But in those in-between moments, when things feel slow or uncertain, I come back to one question that has completely reframed how I view time. Will this be a live time or a dead time? The phrase came from author Robert Greene, who asked it during a conversation we had years ago, when I was in a period of transition. He said, "You've got a year before your next big move. So, what's it going to be? A live time where you grow, build, and prepare? Or a dead time where you wait, complain, and coast?" That question hit me like lightning, because we tend to think time only counts when we're busy or achieving something visible. But the Stoics saw it differently. Every moment is an opportunity, if you choose to make it one, even a lockdown, even a layoff, even a week when nothing seems to be happening. The question is, how are you showing up in that moment? Are you learning something? Practicing discipline? Strengthening your character? Or are you just numbing out, letting time pass while you wait for the real part of life to begin? Seneca said, "It's not that life is short, it's that we waste a lot of it. We kill time while time is quietly killing us. But here's the hope. You can make this moment count, right now, no matter how small or quiet or unremarkable it may seem." So ask yourself, will this be a live time or a dead time? And if it's been dead time up until now, are you willing to wake it back up? From here, we come to the final and perhaps most defining question. The one that asks you to look at your character, not your goals, your tasks, or your titles, but who you are choosing to be in this very moment. Question 12. Is this who I want to be? It's a quiet question. Easy to overlook, but it's one of the most powerful ones I've ever learned to ask myself. Is this who I want to be? Not, is this what I planned? Not, will this get results? But deep down, at the level of character, integrity, and identity, does this reflect the person I'm trying to become? Every action we take, every small decision, is a vote for the kind of person we are becoming. And sometimes we fall into habits, shortcuts, or reactions that betray that vision. We say something out of anger. We ghost someone instead of speaking honestly. We compromise our values for approval or ease. But each moment offers a chance to ask, is this aligned with my principles? Is this consistent with who I say I want to be? Or am I letting my lower self take the wheel again? Cheryl Strayed put it bluntly, "You're becoming who you're going to be, so you might as well not be an asshole." It's harsh, but it's true. Because the way we show up in the small moments, the tone in our voice, the honesty in our replies, the effort in our work, those are the things that define us, not the goals on a vision board. Not the dreams we talk about but never act on. So I've learned to stop in the middle of a conversation, a decision, a difficult choice, and ask, is this who I want to be? And if the answer is no, I adjust, even if it's uncomfortable, because ultimately it's not about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about showing up again and again as the person your future self would be proud of. Now, if you've followed along this far, I want to leave you with one final bonus question. It's not from a Stoic philosopher, but it carries the same weight and maybe even more urgency. Bonus question: what is life asking you? We often spend our lives asking, what's the meaning of life? What am I here for? What's my purpose? But Viktor Frankl, survivor of the Holocaust and author of Man's Search for Meaning, offered a radical shift in perspective. He said, maybe it's not us who should be asking the question. Maybe it's life that is asking us, and the answer? It doesn't come from words. It comes from how we choose to live, our choices, our actions, our character. That's the response. Frankl believed that even in the darkest of circumstances, we still have one freedom left: the freedom to choose our response, to find meaning, not in comfort but in commitment, not in control, but in courage. So the next time you find yourself lost or uncertain, try flipping the question. Instead of asking, what's the meaning of my life? Ask, what is life asking of me right now? And how will I answer? Because in the end, it's not about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions again and again until the way you live becomes the answer. If these questions moved you, challenged you, or sparked something inside, don't let the insight end here. Take one question today. Sit with it. Write about it. Let it shape the way you live, even in the smallest way. And if you want more daily reminders like these, lessons from Stoicism, wisdom from the past, and tools for living well today, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. This is what we explore every week here on Daily Stoic Habits. Not philosophy for the classroom, but for real life. And I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 12 questions hit you the hardest? Which one do you need to wrestle with today? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, ask boldly, live intentionally, and never stop becoming who you were meant to be.